Welcome to Tiffdoesloans Podcast. Today I have a master investor, Rick Sanchez. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it and looking forward to it.
Yes, see the power of Instagram. We finally met in person. Yeah. We have been on Instagram for a while. He does a lot in the real estate world in the San Antonio market. So I love that market. I've been licensed in Texas for almost 6 years now. So I do follow that market a lot, just as much as I do the California market. So loved that. And why don't you just start by telling us like how you got started into real estate and just kind of, your day to day?
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, that's why I reached out to you, is because you do loans out in Texas, and it seemed like you do a great job with them. So and you did a whole bunch of work that really helped to solidify the stabilization of our 18-unit project.
Yep.
We know now where we can get our financing, right? So really
now we know what we need to do in order to get the numbers that we want.
That's right.
It's a process.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Sure. But so my background is, I kind of grew up in real estate. My mom was a real estate agent. She was an agent for 25, 30 years.
Did you do the door knocking with her?
I did a little bit of the door knocking with her. Yeah, when I was younger, she had me putting up signs and doing all that kind of stuff.
I love that.
And so she, I kind of cut my teeth with her a little bit, seeing that side of the business. Then I was actually in the mortgage space. I had a mortgage brokerage right before the financial crisis. So
so that like 2007.
2007, 2008. Okay. Yep. So I had it from 2005 up to about 2008. Okay. Before that, I worked for some people might remember this, AmeriQuest Mortgage. They had a subsidiary called Town and Country Credit. And then from there, I went on and had the brokerage. So I've kind of grown up in the real estate space. And so in 2019, I had a couple of buddies who also were interested in investing in real estate, and at the time they knew my background, which now is more in like organizational design, project and program management, stuff like that. And so they approached me about, hey, let's start an investment business, and so we did that. So in 2019 we started. I started pulling together different ways for us to kind of operate the business, and we got everything all organized, and we went into the San Antonio market at the recommendation of a friend of one of my business partners. So he grew up in that market, and then he came over, and then my business partner met him, and he was like, hey, you guys got to check out this market. And we were like, why? And he said, because for some reason in this particular area of San Antonio, like the people just love staying there. It's a very kind of tight-knit community area, and the rents are great versus what the prices are. And so we did a little bit of research on it, and kind of went down there and checked it out, and sure, he was right. So that was what kind of got us in that market.
What an amazing call in 2019 of like, hey, let's just start an investor business. And then it's like 2020 happens. And it's like, did you guys just feel like gold? Like, this is amazing. Like, you could just buy up a bunch of property. I don't know if you guys just bought it up, but it seemed like the perfect time if somebody had this great idea in 2019, like, hey, let's just start buying up property. And then the rates went to like 2%, a little more, higher in the investment, but still very low. Investors' dreams to have rates even close to the 3%,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it certainly made it easier, right? I mean, with the rates being what they were, and everyone knew that at the time, right? So people were like jumping in, and but it's funny though, because thinking about like all the things that could potentially go wrong with a business, I never thought of a global pandemic as one of those things, right?
Okay, yeah. But I feel like in real estate kind of did it, but no, because it made a lot of other things harder to do in person. So the rates were low. So I guess it's always different because a lot of people like refinance, but still if you're purchasing, it definitely came with, it was harder to get inspections and, and just to get the work done. The contractors
like
going out there.
Showings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that was,
That's true.
During that, it really, this was Texas, right? So during the first 3 weeks, that everything was kind of shut down, people didn't really it really slowed down, and nobody wanted to go and look at properties because they didn't want to be in the same room with someone showing it and all that kind of stuff. But again, it was Texas, right? So after that 3 weeks, it was we opened up and then we rented out a bunch of units, right? So it was great. So it kind of, like you said, right, there's a trade-off there. So there were some good things that happened with the rates and kind of the movement of the properties, and a lot of people relocating and stuff, right? A lot of people relocated to different areas.
Yeah, because they all went, and we had to stop a bunch of people because everybody went work from home.
Yeah.
But we're you can't just move. Your employer still has the final say. Because a lot were just trying to make the move, but ultimately we're still you have to send a letter from your employer stating that it's okay for you to move. They're oh man.
For sure. But the areas that benefited a lot were Texas, Florida, right?
Oh yeah. Those are the biggest ones.
The ones that were open pretty much, right? So Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, really benefited from that. So we saw a lot of appreciation on the properties that we had bought up until
recently
2020. We saw a lot of appreciation, and they were doing really well. And then up until about 23 was when the rates started going up and all that kind of stuff, and that's when things kind of
23 was a halt for me.
It
felt very haltish after, because 22, by the beginning of the year to the end of the year, it doubled. The rates doubled.
Correct.
So it was no joke. Correct. It was we started at 3.2, and then by October it was 7.75.
Oh, yeah.
It was a straight up double. It was gnarly, because a lot of people too that were building homes, they qualify in the beginning, but they don't actually get the loan until their home is built.
Right.
And it was really sad because a lot of people were doing that.
Right.
They qualified and built the home in January. By the time it was done, now they weren't actually, I think the builders ran into that a lot. Then they weren't actually qualifying. For the space.
Right,
so that was gnarly.
Well, and commercial rates were super high, right? So you try and go and buy,
oh my gosh,
anything over 40.
I was issuing out 8 point, and I feel at the time I didn't even really, because where I worked originally at the retail place, I didn't do DSCR, I didn't do non-QM. I only did the regular ones. So when I came on my own, but I was issuing out 8.25 and 10% on DSCRs in 23. I mean, we're way back down. I'm giving 6% now. So but so it's doable.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that had to do because obviously loans are based on risk, right? So. So the loans at that time, I believe, had to do with so much uncertainty in the market, right?
100%.
Because the rates are lower now for sure,
Yes.
right? Which is much better. But when you think about what the Fed funds rate was at that time, and you think about what the rates kind of should have been, they still should have been closer to in the 8s and 9s and stuff like that.
But they were getting up there.
But on the DSCR and the commercial loans, they were 10%. I mean, I remember seeing some
I've issued
10%.
out 13% of the commercials, but it really depends on the risk and the experience.
That's right. That's right.
That's why I do with investors and commercial. It's hey, and I always tell them you're going to get a better rate. It's all your experience and your credit score. So use your best credit score. And if you don't have the experience, get with somebody because they're going to give you the most leeway and the better pricing.
But on DSCR, right? It's not even about.
Oh, it's not about.
It's not even about credit score, right? It's about more about the property itself.
Well, because that's more with the fix and flips. They want to see that you're actually going to do something with the property.
Correct.
But I could see that now because if you think about it, I mean, it is more stated. It's just going off of what the market rents are.
Yep.
So how you're saying that it was such a risky time, because even for people to rent, that's the thing, people could buy it, but then are you actually going to be able to get it rented, right?
That's right. That's right,
because that's where,
and that was one of the most I wouldn't say one of the most challenging things, but it was one of the challenging things, right? Because depending on the area that you buy in and stuff, right, you can have I'll give you an example. The area that we bought in, I felt was a great area, and
San Antonio.
In San Antonio, there's a little like submarket of San Antonio called Harlandale that we kind of focused on when we first started. I was coming from California. I felt like a kid in a candy store, right? Because we were picking up properties for like $80,000 or $90,000, you know, and
That's
I'm
so
like,
crazy.
I was like, I didn't even know that existed anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, but then we were able to, you know, flip some. We were able to wholesale some because there was so much activity going on, and then we were able to, you know, do the Burr method and keep some too, right? So we had all three channels going at the same time, and it was great. So, but you know, that area of Harlandale, you know, I would say it's probably like a B to C area, you know, maybe like a low B to C area.
But that's still really good. Like a B is good.
It is. But you know, there were instances where because of whatever reasons, right, that we were very limited on the amount of property managers who would go down there, right, who would go down into that area. A lot of them wanted to focus more on the north side because that's more higher income and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
was it still like good? Like, did they have good schools or like anything right there, or is that why it was more like living?
That specific area does. Like the Harlandale School District was actually pretty well known, but for whatever reason, we had a really difficult time finding like a good property manager.
So did you build one?
So that is a whole story. That is a whole story in and of itself.
I'm used to people just like, I couldn't find it, so I just built it. Like that's like an entrepreneur at its finest.
That's exactly what happened, pretty much. I mean,
so we became project managers, basically.
So what happened was, and I'll kind of talk about this a little bit more, but one of the biggest challenges that we've had has always been finding the right people, right? And I think that's in any business, right?
Yeah.
Is getting the right people. And so the guy who actually introduced us to that market had very good credentials, right? He was a highly decorated U.S. Marine, former LAPD guy. He retired, moved back to San Antonio because that's where he was from, and him and his brother started a property management company. And so we had difficulty finding one. So we were like, okay, well, you turned us onto the market. Why don't we help you and you help us and all of that. And long story short, it ended up being not the best situation. He ended up stealing a bunch of money from us. I think because he got in over his head. He had a bunch of our security deposits, so he basically just ghosted us.
Oh man!
And he took off with about $60,000 of like security deposits and rents that he had collected
and
stuff like that.
I just don't know how people think that when you're in business that you're gonna like get away with. It's like one thing if it's like somebody has a ton, but like if it's like you guys that are building these clients that are just kind of like, you know, regular, like they're just deposits of like people that are renting and like single family. It's just like, I don't know, kind of like what I guess it might be easier for them to do it to somebody like that, I guess. But yeah, it just seems gnarly.
It was real gnarly. And we were like, it was one of those scenarios where we had to once we found out, and he started ghosting like us and then other clients that we had like recommended him and stuff, and they started calling us like, hey, where's our rents? Like, you know, they started calling us about their rents, right? Where this guy was collecting, and we're like, you know, we're in the same boat as you are. You recommended us, okay? So we had to pivot very quickly. So we started our property management company and got it stood up in like a month and a half. Okay. And
just kind of figured it out.
Well, it was interesting because this is where I believe in, you know, this is where my faith comes into practice, right? It was really a God thing because 2 properties that we had purchased, actually more than 2. There was about 5 properties that we had purchased, but 2 that we kept and then were bigger properties for us. We got very kind of tight knit with the owner of that property and then his son. And he was just a good guy. He'd been in the prison industry, and so he connected with myself and also with my one of my business partners who was former military, and then the other one was LAPD, former LAPD. And so we all just got along great from the get-go, right? And then I had stayed in touch with him, and then when he had kind of like reached out to me a couple of times, like, hey, do you need help with any of your projects, or do you need anything? Because he had retired from the prison system, so he was like, do you need help with anything? And so we had never really had the need at that point. But then when we were getting the property management company going, I was like, hey, let's talk about what you could do and what we could work out between us. And he's been a godsend. Like I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're like the angel on my shoulder.
And he just like hopped in and handled it.
He always tells me, I've seen how you guys have gotten screwed by different, different like, contractors or property management. I've seen how that's happened. He's also, I'm here to protect y'all. That's what he said. I'm here to protect.
That's so cute.
I'm here to protect y'all. And he's just
those people are the best, and they have no idea. Like I feel like even at my brokerage, like when I met them, like just. It's incredible how, just how it's like you don't know these people, and then it's just like they're there to, they're just there to help you.
That's right.
And just like so much support. And I'm just like, wow, like especially in this time. But those are like I call it a work family, but I think it's like super important to have that, and especially in industries like this that are so up and down and seasonal.
That's right.
It's like you have to weather, like, yes, we know it's going to be sunshine eventually, flowing, a harvest.
Yeah.
But you have to go through.
You have to go through the hard times.
You have to go through,
right? You have to go through the dry season to appreciate the rain.
And these hard times in like real estate, like, they're hard,
Yeah.
Like I've heard,
real estate
and
is
from
always...
each one has its own thing, like fix and flippers. It's like you hear nightmare stories of like finding the right contractor. Like that's the best when they finally, or a lot of them become it, because they're like, I can't find it, so now I'm the contractor.
Well, a lot of that was the impetus for like projects that we're working on now, right? So. I mean, real estate has always been kind of a feast or famine type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. But like with the property management company, it really worked itself out, mm-hmm. and we really saw God working through some of these things, because how fast we were able to get it stood up, and then you get people coming in during different seasons and stuff. We had a guy who had been working with us as a real estate agent over there. And he really helped us stand up the leasing side of things, and he made some good money off of that, and got everybody transitioned over, even though we didn't even have the previous property manager, because he had ghosted us at that point, right? So we didn't have the previous property manager there to say, hey, we're transitioning this, right? We just had to like kind of go and explain the situation to the tenants,
and have them change everything, like stop paying this guy.
That's right. Now imagine, like, put yourself in those shoes,
and
right?
It's scary too, because then you're also asking them again to kind of reinvest in you guys, because like they were your referral.
Well, I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the tenants, right?
Yeah.
Like someone just comes up to you that you hadn't been working with before, you didn't even know, and then they're like, oh, you need to send money over here when the rent is due next week, basically, right? So that was kind of what we were faced with. So we had to go and
Did the majority kind of do it though?
Oh, they did. Oh, yeah. They were great. I mean, we
and if you tell them like, hey, this guy's stealing from you and we're not going to, so I'm sure, it's, it was more of like a protective move.
For sure. And we explained,
and I'm sure that they could see that. Yeah.
And again, having these two guys that I was just mentioning right now, like go there, and they're native from Texas. They're, they speak the language there and all that. And so having them go there and kind of explain the situation, tell them what was going on, that was really, what I think benefited us a lot. And then, the silver lining of it, from the property management standpoint, was that we took over all the clients that this guy had, who he burned. We took over all of that business, right? So
even the ones that weren't like from you and yours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Nice.
Yep.
Because then you can go tell them too. Like, and
yeah, we reached out to everybody. Well, everyone that we knew was with this guy, we reached out to them, right? And we're like, hey, if you need a place to go for property management, we stood this up. Here's how we do it. Here I put a big emphasis on like the systems of the business, right? So that way it promoted an environment of transparency and accountability, right? That was very important for me, because I didn't have that with the previous guy.
Exactly.
So once we did that, and I explained to them why we're doing this, what we're doing, and here's how it's going to look moving forward, they were like,
everybody was good.
Everybody was good. So I mean, it worked out for us,
Yeah. No, that's really good.
And we still have the property management today.
That's why I love
growing,
talking to all these entrepreneurs in real estate, because I knew it. I'm like, he's just gonna. We couldn't, the property management was terrible, so we just built our own. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite kind of stories.
Because
it's like, okay, they're not doing it right, so I'm just gonna let's just build this business overnight. It's like you guys, some people, especially in this industry, I feel like can just build businesses like overnight. They will watch 200 hours of YouTube and they will figure it out. Like, they will not sleep and they will get it done. So I love that. And then so I want to hone in on the San Antonio market.
Yeah.
What, because you have been there for several years. You have single family. Now you guys you still have the property management, right? So you kind of all of it all in one.
Yep.
And then, single family, we're working on the 18 unit, but you have just kind of been buying property, do a lot of the fix and holds, right?
We do. Yeah.
So
we focus
what's your favorite part about that market?
That market? Yeah. So the reason why we picked San Antonio was because this guy kind of turned us onto it. So I'll always be grateful for that side of it. Right. But I would say that the biggest things that I saw when I went there and even doing the preliminary research, you obviously have the military base, right?
Yeah.
So military,
huge base.
Military is huge down there. Right? You got Lackland and you have, just a huge military presence. So you always have people coming in and out, which has contributed to the short-term rentals and right, all of that kind of thing. Then you also have a huge presence of medical, right? So there's large, medical facilities and hospitals and things like that. So you always get traveling nurses and you get a lot of people who are involved in the medical industry who are there. And then you also have
it's just Texas.
What's that?
And it's Texas.
And it's just Texas, I mean, it's funny though, because Dallas and Austin always get kind of the props and the kudos and stuff like that. But San Antonio, a lot of people don't know, it's the 7th largest city in the United States.
Really? Yeah.
It's one of the most traveled 2 cities in the United States as well, because they got the Riverwalk and they have that whole downtown area. It's beautiful. When we first started going there, that was always one of my favorite things about it, was just going. I'd always pick a hotel that was right there on the Riverwalk. And, me and my business partners, when we'd go and, check on the projects and stuff like that, we would, stay by the Riverwalk. We'd
so awesome.
Walk down to Ruth's Chris, get a nice steak, and then come back and sit on the Riverwalk, have a cigar. So it was
good times.
It was always good times. So we always enjoyed that. But from a market standpoint, I think the biggest thing that got me was seeing the demand for rentals in person. Right. So I knew kind of all the numbers of the marketplace. And I would always encourage new investors to learn as much as you can about that particular market, right? Just try and know everything that you possibly could about the market, and that's always something that's super important. What does the unemployment rate look like? What does what does the population look like? Are people moving in more than they're moving out, right? Because I've seen people we want to go invest in Detroit or something like that. And I saw a really interesting analysis, and this isn't to knock Detroit at all, but I saw a really interesting analysis from a guy who was talking about how to pick a real estate market. And he was like, your primary audience is the people who are going to be living in your units, right? So that's your target customer, right? He's also, why would you want to go somewhere and invest where that target customer, you have more of those target customers leaving than coming in, right? And so again, it's not to pick on Detroit or anything, but more people were moving out of Detroit than moving in. So I'm kind of that made sense to me, right? So I was like, okay. So San Antonio had, at the time when we started investing, there were a lot of people coming in, and it even increased, during COVID and stuff, right? So there was just a huge influx of people. So when you take into account the jobs that are created by the military and medical and even some of the the banks and technology, Frost Bank has their headquarters there and stuff. So when you take into account the jobs that were there, you take into account the tourism factor, right? And then you take into account the demand for the rentals. To me, that signaled that it would be a good market, right? So and then when I went there, and I got to see that the numbers that we had applied to our our investment analysis were actually
Correct.
were correct,
Nice.
and they were good. I frankly thought when we first started that I was being a little bit aggressive when I was, plugging in and we obviously created different scenarios to test out, worst case versus best case and stuff like that. But like I kind of went more with the more aggressive side of the rentals, and they came in,
Just worked out.
and they just worked out the way that we thought. And I'll tell you, so here's a story about it. When we finished our very first project, it was a single family residence and an ADU. And so I got in basically the day after we had like signed off the final paperwork with the contractor, and we were basically calling the project complete. So my business partner was down there already, and he had basically that night put up the for rent sign. Him and I went to breakfast the next morning, right? And we were just sitting there talking about like, future plans and all this kind of stuff. I kid you not, while we were at breakfast, he got like 10 calls from the for rent sign, just from a for rent sign. We hadn't even put it online or anything like that. He got like 10 calls while we were at breakfast. Like I'm seeing him, he's like, I got a San Antonio number. Okay, took it. And then he just had to like put his phone down so we could finish breakfast. And
that's a good problem to have.
We ended up with like, I want to say probably close to like 60 or 70 applicants.
Jeez.
In the first few days.
Doesn't that just just make you want to go buy up a bunch of property, right?
It did. And we bought that property for $85,000. And
wow.
We put in our original budget on it was like $45,000. We had a couple of change orders that came up. It ended up being $54,000, right? So
yeah.
So all in, we're sitting there at like 135.
Yeah. And then you have all these applicants, and that. It seems, and a lot of people probably wouldn't think that, because I wouldn't think that the rental, I guess, would be so high, just because when I think about it, I guess, it would depend on your area. But when I would first think about it, it's like because they're so affordable, like why aren't more people buying? And I think that's where some people also, maybe a misconception with Texas and the rentals, because it's like they're thinking, and especially we're out here, so it's like it's like $1 million. When over there it's like 500,000, so they're like, why isn't everybody buying?
Yeah.
But of course, I think that's just might be a misconception that a lot of California has about Texas, because you're saying that the rental is so good.
Well,
but again, the areas. So
that's right. And to be honest with you, I would have never known about it unless someone had told me, right? Yeah. So because, San Antonio is one of those markets that I think again gets overlooked. Everybody looks to Dallas, looks to Austin, but there's markets like that all over the United States, right? And some of the best investment advice that I got was look for the big cities, but look at the small pockets right outside the big cities, right? And that's kind of what, I'm not investing in downtown San Antonio right next to the Alamo Dome or the, the Riverwalk or anything like that. I'm investing in pockets right outside of San Antonio that, are still within the city limits or whatever, but
maybe a little cheaper and a little out of the way.
Correct.
Some people don't like to be just in the riffraff. It's great when you're traveling, but I love to be I used to, when I was, a little more in my younger days, I lived right behind the beach, but now I'm a little just outside of it,
Yep, for sure.
I want to be out of the riffraff.
That's
right. I don't want to be, I used to love to be in it, but now I'm I want to be just close enough, but I'm not back there anymore.
That's right.
I was I don't want to be there with all the cars and all the people and all the, just constant.
When you get older, it's it's too crowded.
I'm no. Yeah, now I'm just just a little enough, a whole light outside of it to where it's perfect. I can see what's going on.
That's right.
But I feel that's that's
as long
really
as you can
good.
go on your runs, right? That's what's important.
Well, and I don't have to go through again any of that. So it's just straight shot on the outside.
That's right.
So San Antonio. So that is really good.
Yep.
You've already kind of mentioned the key indicators to find those. So what are some of the mistakes that you see other investors making, maybe when they get into Texas?
Yeah, and I want to say it's probably not even specific to Texas, right?
That's a good point.
I would say just in general, some of the biggest mistakes, and this isn't just for other investors, it's for myself too, right? I've made these mistakes, right? I would say number one is your deal analysis is a little bit too loose, right? You got to make sure that you're tight on your numbers. You have to make sure that you've planned for different scenarios, and you have to make sure that you have accounted for contingencies, right? I would say that's probably the biggest things from things that you can control, right? There are other things that you can't necessarily control, right? You can't control if you get a contractor who underestimates the deal or is maybe just not a scrupulous person, right? And those are things that you can't control, right? But from the stuff you can control, I would say making sure that your deal is analyzed properly. I would say make sure that you have built-in contingencies, and then do the best job that you can to to pick the right people, right? Pick the right people, because every time that we had something go wrong on a project or go wrong in our business, it's because we selected the wrong person.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's tough, because you won't know until you're in full.
Sometimes
you won't know until you're in full swing, and you're
that's
right. This isn't aligning with what we talked about.
Yeah. But
just all of it.
So one of the things that I found was very important is making sure that you have documentation on things that happen within your projects and things that are happening within your business, right? You're documenting all the stuff, because then you can use data to drive future decisions, right? And sometimes it's intuitive, but other times if you have it there and you can refer back to it, it's really helpful. Because as an example, a lot of times what contractors will do, especially if they're wanting business or they're hurting for business, they'll bid low on a job. And then they'll go in and they'll hit you with a bunch of change orders, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen it's happened to me. It's happened to other.
So they change orders. So they get in there and basically say that they could do it for this amount. And then of course, once they get in there,
they know they can't.
It's just like the bait and switch. Yeah.
They know that they can't do it for that amount, but then they'll come in and say, oh, well, this was wrong. This was wrong. This was wrong. And we didn't know that at first. Or they'll find some other reason why they need to do the change order. And and you're kind of stuck at that point, because sometimes
they've already done it.
That's right. They've gotten.
But that's why a lot of people unfortunately have built their businesses on, bait and switch
that's right. That's right.
It's just unfortunate.
And I'll tell you, we had a scenario on our 18-unit project, and the contractor was well behind schedule, and he. We were waiting for some plumbing work to get done, right? Some drain line work, and he goes, well, the guy he's not showing up. He's not coming. The plumber's not coming back. And I'm like, we have a contract with you. These are the dates. You need to get on. You need to get on your plumber. And he was like, well, he's just not coming back. And I'm like, well, you need to take action and do something.
Well,
right?
You need to find another plumber.
That's right.
This is your contract.
That's right. And so what happened was, he goes, I found another plumber. He goes, but he's $13,000 more expensive. So we're going to have to do a change order. I'm like, that's not my problem, man.
You have to cover that.
This is your issue.
Your person quit on you, basically.
Correct. But then you get into a scenario, what happens when the contractor either refuses to or can't cover it, right? Well, you have a couple options, right? You can either fire the contractor and then go get a new one, or you can go along with, what they need, or kind of work out some sort of a deal. So we were like, okay, well, let's split the difference, right? So we'll do a change order of $6,500. You cover the other $6,500. Well, what ended up happening was, the other plumber that he got, I'm not even sure what the deal was with them, but part of our contract, just so that it's clear, part of our contract is, once we hire you as the general contractor, we're not going to be involved with the negotiations between you and your subs, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the contract. You can hire your own subs, but we're not responsible for the payment to them. We're not responsible for any of that stuff. You are, right? So anyway, long story short, he ended up going back to the original plumber. So we paid $6,500, and we got the same guy who was originally going to do the work anyway, which led me to believe that he was not telling us the truth about the situation, right? So
some people are gnarly.
It was so we ended up we ended up firing that contractor little ways down the road. but it just goes to show, like,
do people just think if they put you in enough like sticky situations that it's like, well, they're just gonna have to. I think that's where some people think that it's like, I'm gonna do it at a point in time to where I just know that they're in need, that they're just gonna like have to get it done.
That's right.
And they're basically just gonna like buckle. And that's just like, what a terrible like vision and mindset to have as a business owner. It's just like, it's really tough, especially when you're with contractors, and there's so many now, and like
it can be a shady game for sure.
But that's why definitely it's a little easier now for us, because there is some type of, with social media, you do get to, you will get blasted.
Yep.
If you even like now, if you do build your brand, and then if you got caught doing that a couple times, and especially like, I don't know, Gen Z, millennial, like, dude, you're going on, there's going to be a reel for sure. And they're blasting you.
There's repercussions for sure.
I mean, now I think that helps.
Yeah.
Or they could, honestly, people could just go on your social media, and I've even had people do it to me about like people that I interviewed.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, hey, this guy did this to me. Like they'll go and message people that they're like involved with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so I think a little more accountability there.
Yep.
But I think that's big on us too, to make sure that we're doing our research. And I mean, it definitely shows if somebody does have more of a Instagram, like at least like Instagram, some type of presence to where you're posting daily. I like to look at it like, I look at the people giving information to other people.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that I want to work with. That's how I run my business. And I like to see that in other people, that they're giving information or whatever in their industry, or trying to help somebody do something or solve some problem consistently, like through their content.
Absolutely.
And then I feel like that's a big, to try to steer away from those people. 'Cause like, that just sounds like, they do it to you when you're in this like tough spot.
Yeah, my dad used to have a phrase that he used. He would say, "You have a tiger by the tail," right?
Yeah.
And so, you get into a project, things are all ripped up, and then the contractor hits you with a change order. Sometimes it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. But you're kind of limited in what you can do at that point, right? It's like, do I fire the contractor right away and go get a new one while it's all ripped up, and then they come back and it's more expensive? Then you're kind of in a catch-22 there. So that's why he would say that you got a tiger by the tail, right? So, so it's but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely options with social media, like, Facebook groups. There's a lot of like investor groups and things like that you can go into, and you can, I've seen people. I don't do it because I don't know. I guess I just didn't want the bad karma or whatever, but. I've seen people go in and say, "Don't work with so and so," and they put their
I don't put their. I know. I'm not like that either.
Yeah.
I don't. I wouldn't want to just like blast somebody like that, but that's just not my style. But definitely, at least.
But there's options, right?
Yeah.
That's the good part.
Maybe, I mean, it depends. If it's like a super dude, like this person straight up robbing like me and other people, and then like they should be held accountable and like at least shown to like, hey, I think it does come on us too, a little accountability to like, you need to say something so they don't do it to other people
else, for sure.
Because then it's like, again, it's like one of those vicious circles to then like, then you kind of become part of the problem, because that guy is not going to go home.
That's right.
Now they don't have money to bring home to themselves or their family or whatever. So what? They're going to go hunting for a new deal, and they're going to go look for somebody who's in a bind.
That's right.
And that's what they're going to do. So I feel like, like we owe it to, but I wouldn't do just like the blast of like, I've seen people do stuff like that.
I've seen it happen.
And it's like, if it wasn't, it's like, they, it's like, it has to be equal to like what they did, you know, if they were stealing and like, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars from you, you know, but if they just like made you feel bad in a way, or maybe like called you a name, like, come on, let's not like destroy their career. But
that's right. I
think it needs to fit what the
punishment needs to fit the crime.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hold on. Like, sometimes I have to dive a little deeper and be like, okay, did they deserve this?
I think I would have been justified. Yeah. I think I would have been justified doing it. This guy cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, but to your point, right? Like, that's just not my style, and you know, like, we're just going to handle it and move forward. You know? Yeah. Which is what we did, and you know what? I believe that it'll
come back. Yeah.
It'll come back around. Everything's going to work out just like it always does. And that's part of that. Sometimes
they'll get it later. Yeah.
Sometimes it's part of the business, you know, like you just got to keep pushing forward.
I just feel, at this point. And with just age too, it's like, all right.
I'm like, I got bigger things to
do. Just like, okay, whatever. Yeah. At this point, it's like, if it's not, okay, like we're still moving, like we're able to keep going, we just got to keep going. Like, is it completely take out the boat, or like, no, then I can't, you know, no stopping. Like, let's just, like, and it's just as you get older too, it's like, even, gosh, like that's so painful, like hundreds of thousands, but it's like, not even worth it. Like, you don't even want to deal with it.
It was a good lesson in selecting the right people, right?
Yeah. So. And then I do want to go into, okay, so you have created something from your experience, so just like doing all of your investing, and you built it's REInvestor Hub, so but it's an AI, like a business operating system, right?
Yeah.
For small to mid investors.
Correct.
So this is just, why don't you kind of introduce that? I know it's going to be coming out soon, and just kind of tell us, you know, what inspired that. And it just, and it's really great. I love when people take what they've done and then, you know, build something amazing out of it that other people can definitely benefit from.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. So it's REinvestorHub.ai. Okay. And basically what it is, so in 2000, as I was mentioning earlier, part of my background is I've done a lot of like projects for large companies, and even small to mid-sized companies as well, but doing like organizational design and, you know, things like that. So so in 2019, when I was putting together the business with myself, and we had a couple of business partners, you know, I had to kind of figure out like, okay, how do I do it so that we can, you know, find properties, and then we can analyze the deals, and then my partners can also take a look at the deals, you know, do their analysis on it and make sure they're comfortable with going into it and buying it and stuff like that. So we kind of had to put together a business operating model, right, that could be used for multiple business partners. And at the time, I went searching for a tool, and there was no tool. Yeah. So I cobbled together, you know, a bunch of different, you know, things. We ended up investing in Google Business, which gave us like Google Sheets, right? So those were shareable. You know, we invested in a couple of other different, you know, softwares and things like that. One of the other things that we needed to do was when we would try to go like raise funds for a project or something, we'd obviously want to provide like a
pitch deck.
Yeah, like a pitch deck or you know, prospectus on this particular deal for an investor, right? And so there wasn't really anything like that available. I did find some, you know, deal analysis tools and stuff like that at Bigger Pockets, which was, you know, really helpful. But, you know, Bigger Pockets is more of like an educational platform, right? They're there about community and their education and all that stuff, and they're a great resource for any new investor, right? So I found a couple of tools from there, and then there was also another tool that I used for like our portfolio tracking, so that we could, like, when an investor would say, well, what experience do you guys have, right? Well, okay, well here's our LLCs, and here's how many properties we have in each LLC, and here's how much equity we have, how much we bought them for, right? It's like a portfolio tool. And so basically cobbling together all of these tools, you know, cost us around, you know, $400 to $600 a month, right? And so at the time I was like, there's got to be something better out there for
Yeah.
small to mid-sized real estate investors, newer investors like myself.
Yeah, you have to get like a million different things.
Yeah, so I had a vision for what I wanted it to be, but like, you know, I was busy running the day-to-day of the business, and then you throw in the property management company, and I was just busy all the time. And so what really I think was the impetus for us was, number one, right now we're in the process, as you know, we're in the process of stabilizing our 18-unit project, right?
Yep.
So we're not really investing in a whole lot of other like projects outside of that, because we have a large expense on on that side, and we're busy trying to get it rented and get it stabilized and all that sort of thing. So I was like, okay, well, we're not actively doing a whole bunch of other projects right now, so this would probably be a good time to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of it is like the rise of AI, right? Mm-hmm. So we know, 3 years ago, were we talking about AI?
No,
nobody was, right? So, so my thought was, let's combine a business operating system that it combines all of these tools and utilize and incorporate AI coaching, right? So what we did was I got together with a couple of other partners. One guy's a technology guru. He's like one of the smartest guys I know. Shout out to Travis.
Nice.
But we basically built 3 different AI coaches. Mm-hmm. And so we have a coach that specializes in advice for lending. Mm-hmm. He this particular, we call him Lenny the Lender, right?
Okay. Go back and forth with you on your deal?
Yeah, it's like, basically in a chat box.
It's almost like a chat GPT, but
specialized for that. We built
these things.
Correct. We built an LLM specifically for lending. And then we have Sid the project manager. So Sid will be able to talk to you as an investor about the cost of a rehab in a particular market, right? Mm-hmm. He'll be able to talk to you about how much your overall rehab should cost based on the things you're doing, and he'll ask you questions. And it's funny because I've done a number of projects now, and I just during the process of like testing, I was talking to Sid, and he was
make sure the answers are right. I
was making sure the answers are correct, making sure that they're in line, because like when we first started. You would put in something and then it would ask you like 25 questions, and I'm like, we can't have it like this, because like we need to guide them more, right? So we've been through the process of like refining this over the last few months, right? So I'm going through and I'm talking to Sid, and he brought up like all these points that like I didn't even think of. I was like, holy crap, like yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
Then we have Annie the agent, right? So Annie is like more of a marketplace expert. She's going to have features and functionality that are around comps and rental comps and things like that. So, you combine the use of a business operating system that combines deal analysis, deal pipeline tracking, which is what I was trying to do with my business partners, like, hey guys, we have all these deals that we've checked out. Which ones are the ones that we want to put in an offer on? Well, if you have your deal pipeline tracking, you can go in and say, all of these are the ones that we've analyzed now. Let's agree on which ones are the ones we want to put in an offer on, right? Mm-hmm. From an investor perspective, you can do that with business partners. You can do it with a VA. You can do whoever, right? Yeah. So or yourself, right? Just to keep track, and it's not on a spreadsheet or a sticky note, right? So, and then we have project management tools in there as well, right? So you have tools for managing the timeline, managing the budget, managing your change orders, right? So you can keep track of all of those things. All of that stuff happens in one place. And then on top of that, you can get the advice from the AI coaches. Now, I want to be very clear, right, with you as a lender, right? Like this isn't intended to take the place of anyone or anything, right?
I'm not afraid of like AI taking over my job, but I use it for everything too.
Absolutely.
Like we have a lender, like he's a CEO, but he always says like AI, because everyone's like, oh, are they going to take over? Is AI going to take over real estate agents or loan officers? And it's like, no. He's like, no, you're mistaken. You're not going to be taken over by AI. You're going to be won or beat out or taken over by another LO using AI.
That's right. That's right.
They're not going to take your job, but somebody that has learned, put the time in and does the back and forth and has it help them in their business, right? Like build. Yeah. And like I have one that does, like how you said, I think it was Angie or Sid does, was pointing points out you know, and you're like, gosh, I didn't even think about that. I've started to put stuff in there more about like market analysis and stuff.
Yep.
But again, it's like, it's not meant for that. So, and ChatGPT does not, I mean, it's not totally designed. Like it will still, I only have a couple of investors that I'm working with, you know, at a handful of times. So sometimes it's nice to get that sent over to look really nice and kind of, you know, send them a little analysis.
Yep.
But it's like, it's nice. It would be better going from, you know, that's still like ChatGPT, because my next question to you was going to be like, where is it connected to Google? Like, where is it pulling? Because remember how they said, I think ChatGPT is a little different now, but in the beginning it like didn't pull from the internet, right, or like didn't pull from Google, or like some of them weren't pulling. So it's like some of the information is not going to be updated or like live kind of information. But I think that might be a little old. I think, like, I'm sure yours pulls updated. Obviously, if you're doing like the market analysis, you need it to. But I feel like, well, how does it work on there?
Without getting into like the dynamics of like how we built the AI, you know, it's definitely, you know, it'll take the basic knowledge that you can get from like a Claude or a ChatGPT, right? There's general knowledge. Yeah. Then we built different, like you can call them layers on top of that, right? So you have different bits of information, like as an example for Sid, I had written a whole construction project management playbook for investors. And that's proprietary. It's completely written by me based on my experience as both a project manager and someone who's done investing. So I wrote the whole thing. It was like 45 pages, right? I was going to be honest with you, I was going to sell it, you know, for, you know, I don't know, $50 or $100 or whatever, you know, but I decided, you know what, I think this will be better used to inform Sid, the project manager. And so basically that's one of the layers, right? So Sid actually references that in order to provide guidance to to an investor. And that's why I was saying about Lenny the lender, right? It's not meant to and any of the agent too, it's not meant to replace a lender or a real estate agent. What it's meant to do is it's meant to give new real estate investors the confidence that they need to go into a conversation that they don't sound like an idiot, right? Because that's what a lot of people fear, right? They fear like, I don't want to go and take that first step to call a loan officer because I don't want to sound like a moron, right? I want them to know that I know what I'm talking about. Well, if you go and talk to Lenny for 20 minutes via chat, you're going to learn enough that you need words, about a DSCR loan.
Really just little words.
That's right.
Like trigger words. I started going to investor events, and I was kind of nervous that I would sound not good. But I asked I didn't have an AI at the time. I asked that person, but I was like, what are some, or I would text him sometimes, like, what is this? Like, what is this word? Like people keep saying, you know, like I would get the trigger words. Yep. And I feel like sometimes it's just, you know, and then you like GM, like that was a big one. I was like,
well, and then you get so used to using
they say general partner, but it's GM, and I'm really confused.
Well, then you get so used to using it that you forget that you're even doing that, right? Like we've been talking about DSCR the whole time. Yeah. Maybe people don't even know what DSCR is, right? Debt service coverage ratio loan, right? Yeah. So, but those are things that you can find out, you know, in advance as you're doing, you know, and it's sure you can go and look up specific terms on Google, or you can look up specific terms on ChatGPT or something like that. But having the reference point for our AI, Lenny the lender, who has those layers of lending knowledge built in, and he's going to focus specifically on that. Or Sid is going to focus specifically on construction or
on what they're doing
too. That's right. So
that's why it's hard, because if you're just going into a regular AI, that's why it's better if you're specifically to dive in on just like, even when I do a regular chat, like I keep that chat just keep diving in on that thing.
That's right.
You know, that hone in on that one. But it's definitely going to be better. Whatever, like AI it's only as good like as who creates it. Like you are creating this, like you are behind this, and you are the expert. This is like created from an expert of real estate. It's going to be way better than any standard. It's like some people would be like, oh, well, do I really need it? Because it's like, oh, I could use ChatGPT.
Yep.
But it's like, no, if you're going to go all in and want to build your business, it's going to be a lot better being made from like an expert.
Well, yeah, and thank you for saying that. I mean, like, really, it's because not only are they getting the benefit of a ChatGPT or a Claude, because it's already using all of that knowledge, right? But then it gets the expertise added in there, right?
Exactly.
So,
like it's, you're talking to an expert.
Yeah.
It's not.
And the cool part about it, you know, from my perspective is, again, just like the confidence level that it'll give a new investor to go in. And I mean, because when I first started, you know, I got bids from contractors ranging from $40,000 on our first project. It was, remember, I think I told you it was our original budget was $45,000 and it ended up being $54,000 because of the change orders. When I was talking to Sid and I said, how much would a job of this size be? And I kind of put in a little bit of the details on like what, you know, what the scope of work was and stuff like that. And Sid said, it's going to be between $50,000 and $65,000. So it was amazingly accurate. And, you know, I wouldn't have known that as a first-time investor because I got bids ranging from 40 to 100,000, right? So how would I have possibly known if the 100,000 was too high, right? So it just gives you that extra confidence as an investor to go in and, you know, be able to know your numbers, know that the numbers you put in for your deal analysis are correct as well, right? So to know that you're like, you know, you feel confident about that deal. But also when you're talking to the contractor and they're saying, oh, I'll do it for 90,000. Well, I don't know about that, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're confident in your ability to say that because you've already been having these discussions already. So,
and if it pulls it from many, like it's pulling it from places that kind of keeps it around the average, right?
It does, yeah. I mean, it'll give you
it's gonna shoot out some type of average, and I feel like that's, like you said, that's all you need to kind of have that confidence, and then to go back out there.
That's right.
Because if somebody says 100,000, then you're like, oh,
yep.
I don't know, you know. And if you act a little scared, they're gonna know that they're gonna try to take you for that.
That's
like,
right.
Oh, well, you know what? If you don't really know, I'll help you.
They know when you don't know.
They know when you don't know. So then they're going to be like, here, I'll take care of everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the one contractor that bid us at 100,000 on, we got 3 bids, right?
Yeah.
So we did what we were supposed to do.
Like, what are your materials made out of gold? Like, why is yours 100,000?
It was either that he knew that we were new.
Yeah.
Or
they definitely look at that. Like, that has to be, especially if it's somebody, like, I just don't, if you're definitely young looking like in real estate, or you go around saying that you're new, there's definitely going to be people that are giving those.
That will try and take advantage of that.
That are those big bids. But that's why it's so important to have something like that. And, you know, we do have AI today, and but I think it's even better when it's like specific.
Yep.
Because I'm getting to that point too. Like, you know, the ChatGPT, it's cool. I do a lot of my personal stuff in it too. Like, I have it like debate like through all my vitamins and my routines. Like, I'm this old. I do this. Like, I'm going back and forth. Like, how many times should I do this? When should I do this?
That's smart.
What time in the day should I be doing my breathing thing? Like, and one time it gave me it was like, oh, don't do. I'm like, hey, last time you said not to do that, and now you're saying to do that. I called it. I was like arguing with my AI, but she's like, well, no, it explained to me why. They're like, no, I said that no before, and it did tell me, and like made me realize why in that scenario it was different. Yeah. So that's why it's like it's going to definitely help when you're in more of like an expertise, or like if it's tied to, so yeah, that would be really good. And
that was the goal with REinvestor Hub.ai, and you know,
it launches next month, right?
We're in our closed beta right now. We're doing that for another 2 weeks, and then we're gonna incorporate all the feedback and do all the fixes and all that stuff the following 2 weeks. So we got about a month left of closed beta, and then we're gonna go into our open beta. So right now we're building our wait list and all of that. So if anybody is interested as an investor and you want to sign up for the wait list,
we'll put it down there.
REinvestorhub.ai. You can just go and you just hit get started and it'll sign you up for the wait list.
Okay. And I will have all that information down below. And then just to kind of final question here to kind of wrap up, what is your final advice to these investors?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is make sure that number one, especially summing up all the stuff we've talked about, I would say make sure that you go and really do your due diligence on the right people, do the best that you can to pick the right people, people that you vibe with, people that you believe you can trust. Make sure to get references, right? Make sure to get pictures of prior work for contractors, even for property managers. But I would say that the references, the vibe that you get from those people, and just making sure that you establish the expectation from the start, right? Like make them understand and make sure that they're clear that you're looking to grow with a partner, long term, right? We are looking for a long-term partner in this. We want you to be part of our team, but we hire fast. We hire slow and we fire fast, right? So I would say that make sure to set those expectations with those people. The second part of it is I would make sure that you have, and this is a little bit self-serving, but you have a good system to be able to track, all the documentation on your projects. Make sure that you're tracking your change orders. Make sure you're tracking your financials really closely. These are all things that I created REinvestorHub.ai to do. And then of course along with that, make sure that your deal analysis is on point, right? Make sure that you have a good understanding of both a great scenario and then also what is the worst case, right? So if you can make sure that you get your deals on point and you pick the right people, you're going to give yourself the best chance to be a lot more successful.
Yeah, I always say that too, building the team.
That's right.
Because it's a tough time. So I think just in life, and I'm in that point in my life where it's like just take the little more time up front. You said something that I'm obsessed with. I've never heard that before. Like hire slow and fire fast.
Yep.
It's going to be like my new motto. So yeah. Like I've already been I'm more at a pre-qualifying state. Like I do it, obviously in my business, but now it's like, no, we're pre-qualifying, but no, I'd love that. Hire slow and fire fast. Some good advice. All right. Well, thank you, Rick, so much for coming on. Thank you all. I'm going to have all of his information below. Check out the new AI when it comes out. Just build your business. Will they have will there be somebody, is there like a chat service or somebody that they could talk to?
When we go live, we will have
nice.
our customer service all set up. And
okay,
like that.
awesome.
So
that's the best.
That's a huge priority for us. Is making sure that that because this is a new concept. Right?
Yeah, it's all in one.
There's nothing like this on the market right
now.
Now. So we wanted to make sure that as people get into it, that they understand and
love that. And it's so needed. Yeah, just to have even the systems that I do have that I use through my loans, like a CRM or something. Their chat box is so good that I'm not even, they'll tend to it. They'll walk me through, I'm building a campaign and I'm like, okay, now what? Yep. And they'll basically do it. So that's super important. And that's awesome that you guys, went that further step ahead and created the customer service. So feel free to share, comment below, and I will leave all the information.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.